All right, so, so this is going to be a reading of the Why Study History Google Doc here. That's one of the first things that we need to do for the Alexa Why Study History Day 1. Just a couple of things here. Number one, I'm going to read through this, but the Google Doc, if you notice, has a Spanish translation there. Unfortunately, I'm not um, fluent in Spanish, and I've searched around and I found this website, naturalreaders.com, and you can copy and paste the text into here, choose your voice, and press play, and then you can go back to the document and it can read as you follow through, and that's what I would recommend doing. All right. If there is another way to do it, please, please, please let me know. Or if that's not working for you, let me know. We can figure something out. Also, I think that you are able to do the closed captions on YouTube. You might be able to pick the Spanish closed captions there as well. All right. So, Why Study History by Peter N. Stearns. This is from 1998. This is an article from the American Historical Association. People live in the present. They plan for and worry about the future. History, however, is a study of the past. Given all the demands that press in from living in the present and anticipating what is yet to come, why bother with what has been? And why urge many students to study even more history than they are required to? Any subject of study needs justification. Its advocates or supporters must explain why it is worth attention. Historians do not perform heart transplants, improve highway design, or arrest criminals. In a society that quite correctly expects education to serve useful purposes, the functions of history can seem more difficult to define than those of engineering or medicine. History is, in fact, very useful, actually indispensable, but the products of historical study are less tangible, sometimes less immediate, than those that stem from some of the other disciplines. In the past, history has been justified for reasons we would no longer accept. For instance, one of the reasons history holds its place in current education is because early leaders believed that a knowledge of certain historical facts helped distinguish the educated from the uneducated. History should be studied because it is essential to individuals and to society, and because it harbors beauty. There are many ways to discuss the real functions of the subject, as there are many different historical talents and many different paths to historical meaning. All definitions of history's utility, however, rely on two fundamental facts. History helps us understand people and societies. In the first place, history offers a storehouse of information about how people and societies behave. Understanding the operations of people and societies is difficult, though a number of disciplines make the attempt. An exclusive reliance on current data would needlessly handicap our efforts. How can we evaluate war if the nation is at peace unless we use historical materials? How can we understand genius, the influence of technological innovation, or the role that beliefs play in shaping family life if we don't use what we know about experiences in the past? Consequently, history must serve, however imperfectly, as our laboratory, and data from the past must serve as our most vital evidence in the unavoidable quest to figure out why our complex species behaves as it does in societal settings. This fundamentally is why we cannot stay away from history. It offers the only extensive evidential base for the contemplation and analysis of how societies function, and people need to have some sense of how societies function simply to run their own lives. History helps us understand change and how the society we live in came to be. The second reason history is inescapable as a subject of serious study follows closely on the first. The past causes the present, and so the future. Anytime we try to know why something happened, whether a shift in political party dominance in the American Congress, a major change in the teenage suicide rate, or a war in the Balkans or Middle East, we have to look for factors that took shape earlier. Only through studying history can we grasp how things change. Only through history can we begin to comprehend the factors that cause change. And only through history can we understand what elements of an institution or a society persist despite change. History contributes to moral understanding. History also provides a terrain for moral contemplation. Studying the stories of individuals and situations in the past allows a student of history to test his or her own moral sense. People who have weathered adversity, not just in some work of fiction, but in real historical circumstances, can provide inspiration. History teaching by example is one phrase that describes this use of a study of the past, a study not only of certifiable heroes, the great men and women of history who successfully worked through moral dilemmas, but also more ordinary people who provide lessons in courage, diligence, or constructive protest. History provides identity. History also helps provide identity, and this is unquestionably one of the reasons all modern nations encourage and is teaching in some form. Historical data include evidence about how families, groups, institutions, and whole countries were formed and about how they evolved while retaining cohesion. For many Americans, studying the history of one's own family is the most obvious use of history, for it provides facts about genealogy and, at a slightly more complex level, a basis for understanding how the family has interacted with larger historical change. Family identity is established and confirmed. Many institutions, businesses, communities, and social units, such as ethnic groups in the United States, use history for similar identity purposes. Merely defining the group in the present pales against the possibility of forming an identity based on a rich past. And of course, nations use identity history as well, and sometimes abuse it. Histories tell the national story, emphasizing distinctive features of the national experience, and are meant to drive home an understanding of national values and a commitment to national loyalty. Studying history is essential for good citizenship. A study of history is essential for good citizenship. This is the most common justification for the place of history in school curricula. Sometimes advocates of citizenship history hope merely to promote national identity and loyalty through a history spiced by vivid stories and lessons in individual success and morality. But the importance of history for citizenship goes beyond this narrow goal and can even challenge it at some points. History that lays the foundation for genuine citizenship returns, in one sense, to the essential uses of the study of the past. History provides data about the emergence of national institutions, problems, and values. It's the only significant storehouse of such data available. It offers evidence about how nations have interacted with other societies, providing international and comparative perspectives essential for responsible citizenship. Further, studying history helps us understand how recent, current, and prospective changes that affect the lives of citizens are emerging or may emerge, or what causes are involved. More important, studying history encourages habits of the mind that are vital for responsible public behavior, whether as a national or community leader, an informed voter, a petitioner, or a simple observer. What skills does a student of history develop? What does a well-trained student of history, schooled to work on past materials and on case studies and social change, learn how to do? The list is manageable, but it contains several overlapping categories. Number one, the ability to assess evidence. The study of history builds experience in dealing with and assessing various kinds of evidence, the sorts of evidence historians use in shaping the most accurate pictures of the past that they can. Learning how to interpret the statements of past political leaders, one kind of evidence, helps form the capacity to distinguish between the objective and the self-serving among statements made by present-day political leaders. Learning how to combine different kinds of evidence, public statements, private records, numerical data like statistics, visual materials, develops the ability to make coherent arguments based on a variety of data. This skill can also be applied to information encountered in everyday life. Number two, the ability to assess conflicted interpretations. Learning history means gaining some skill in sorting through diverse, often conflicted interpretations. Understanding how societies work, the central goal of historical study, is inherently imprecise, and the same certainly holds true for understanding what is going on in the present day. Learning how to identify and evaluate conflicted interpretations is an essential citizenship skill for which history, as an often contested laboratory of human experience, provides training. This is one area in which the full benefits of historical studies sometimes clash with the narrower uses of the past to construct identity. Experience in examining past situations provides a constructively critical sense that can be applied to partisan claims about the glories of national or group identity. The study of history in no sense undermines loyalty or commitment, but it does teach the need for assessing arguments, and it provides opportunities to engage in debate and achieve perspective. The last one, experience and assess and past examples of change. Experience and assess and past examples of change is vital to understanding change in society today. It's an essential skill in what we are regularly told is our ever-changing world. Analysis of change means developing some capacity for determining the magnitude and significance of change, for some changes are more fundamental than others. Comparing particular changes to relevant examples from the past helps students of history develop this capacity. The ability to identify the continuities that always accompany even the most dramatic changes also come from studying history, as does the skill to determine probable causes of change. Learning history helps one figure out, for example, if one main factor, such as the technological innovation or some deliberate new policy, accounts for a change, or whether, as is more commonly the case, a number of factors combine to generate the actual change that occurs.